This is the Gift of Gab podcast. I'm your host, Gabrielle, connecting you to the highest and flyest in the Mile High City. Follow me on all major platforms at the Gift of Gab 555. This episode is sponsored by the Ever Collection by K. Michael. Visit evercollection.nyc to get a pair of the flyest eyewear in the game. Tag me on social media in your eyewear for a shout out on the podcast. We hope that you enjoy the show. Today I have a special guest, Amanda. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, my name is Amanda Bumbala. I'm a real estate agent here in the Denver metro area of Colorado. I moved here about 2.5 years ago from Florida.
What made you pick Colorado when you came from Florida? Why did you pick Colorado?
I actually, at the time, was working in the cannabis industry and was doing a little influencing on the side on Instagram, and through various events in Colorado, coming out here and meeting people, it just kind of seemed like the next logical place to kind of move out of my hometown, branch out, and find myself, find what I wanted to do in life, and just prosper.
How did you kind of make the transition from cannabis to real estate? When did that kind of pique your interest?
It's actually a really funny, kind of random story. I moved out here. I couldn't find a job. I wanted a marketing job, either somewhere in the cannabis industry or for an ancillary company or something in hemp, something similar, a little out of the box. And I was kind of in this dead-end glass shop job, getting, minimum wage and not happy. And I'm on Indeed one day, and I find a scholarship for real estate school.
Oh, wow.
And it was kind of always on the back burner. I was like, I'm going to do that later in life. Like when I'm done with this cannabis thing, like I'll go do real estate. Well, I kind of thought to myself, well, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the future. This is when I'm supposed to make the switch. So, I went to real estate school, got my real estate license, and just kind of jumped into a whole new world. I didn't really do a lot of research or, didn't really take on a mentor quite as early as I should have. And I this is it.
Yeah, I'm kind of guilty of that too. Everybody's like, how do you start a podcast? And you make it look good. I'm like, I just did it.
You fake it till you make it. You just do it.
And honestly, I'm really into like this sign. So being on Indeed and having it just pop up with a scholarship, that's exactly how I would be drawn into it. Like, seems like this is for me.
Yeah, and it's funny because real estate school really isn't expensive. I mean, it's like $500, maybe $7 once you get your license all together, everything. But it was just that little bit of motivation to push me off the edge. And like I said, there's no better time than now. The future is now. Stop waiting for things.
I'm reading that book, The Power of Now, or something like that, and I am loving it. It's just a nice reminder to remember that if you're always planning for the next step, you're missing out on what's right in front of you right now.
Absolutely.
What do you think was the hardest part about just making a transition into real estate? What was the biggest hurdle that you faced?
Kind of an identity crisis, I think, which is funny that I say that, being my biggest hurdle, switching jobs, but it definitely, I was, like I said, huge into cannabis. I had my influencer stuff. I worked at a dispensary. I lived, eat, breathe cannabis, to get out of that is just such an identity crisis. I saw myself as my little, Instagram handle, Canna Queen. To break out of that, it was just like, who am I? So I'm still in the process, of switching identities and trying to keep who I was and find a little bit of my, quote unquote future self, present self, and just learn a little bit more about myself in general. I think we all do that, through whatever obstacles we face, we find a little bit more of ourselves.
For sure. I have the hardest time because sometimes as I grow, I almost have to mourn the death of the old me. And it's really a struggle. And then like this last week since my birthday passed, and I've been bringing back some of that old me and recognizing, oh, it's not all bad. Like, it's not, you don't have to suppress all of that. You can be the grown version of that. So I can relate with the changing of identities. It's a hurdle because I always struggle when I'm trying to get to that next group of people. And it's not, I don't like to say group, but when I'm trying to get to the next level, I struggle with people wanting me to stay right here because you're good
I was
right
going to
here.
mention that it's the people around you too. It's this identity you've built for yourself in other people's eyes.
Yes.
And sometimes you lose people trying to change that. Sometimes you change your relationship with your friends or your family trying to change that. Sometimes you have people mad at you. I mean, it's hard to say. Sometimes you have to let close people go if you want to grow.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So on the opposite side, what's the best thing about, what's your favorite thing about being in real estate?
Helping people achieve their goal of homeownership, and also educating people and, the power of homeownership and how, it leads to this power of wealth and building wealth without working toward it. Houses are always going up in value. That's no lie. It's going to continue to happen. So regardless if you buy a house in a quote unquote bad market that people might think, it's like a long-term investment. You hold that investment and it's going to eventually prevail. It's going to be an asset to you. That equity in the home, it's just unmatchable.
Honestly, I bought my first home, and I had a husband at the time.
How old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
I was 20. No, I believe I was 30 years old.
So late 20s, early 30s.
I was around 30 years old. And honestly, I thought I needed all these things. That's why it took me so long in the first place, because I did it on my own. Honestly, now looking back, I could have done it without my husband. Like, I couldn't take advantage of a lot of the first time homeowners programs because I quote unquote made too much money. And now that I don't own a home anymore and I want to get back to it, it's the advice that I would give is to not put those hurdles in front of you before you even know. Because I thought for so many years I had saved up all this money, I had done this, but I didn't have my income correct on paper, or I didn't have my credit where I wanted it to be.
And there are so many people who are very willing to help you for free. Just sit down with you. What do your finances look like? What are your goals? Let's make a plan. Let's make a plan so you can take the steps to get where you want to be. And that's partially what I love to do, as well as educating.
Because what I will say is, when I went through my separation, the pressure of having all of that on my shoulders felt like a lot. And that's why I sold and I gave it up. But now that I've learned the lesson, what I will say is it is no different than the pressure of just paying rent or keeping your job or whatever pressures. Like, you can pick whichever pressures there are. But advice to anybody is to not knock it or say you can't until you've really tried it. Because honestly, I would rather have that on my shoulders than a lot of other things that I've put on my shoulders.
A lot of people, it's a commitment thing. They look at a mortgage and they're like, this is a 30-year mortgage. I will be paying this for the next 30 years of my life. And they think I'm stuck, and you're not. You can rent it out and make a profit off your mortgage, rent it out for more than what your mortgage costs. You could sell it, use the equity. God forbid you bought your house and the market went down temporarily and you're taking a loss. How much is that loss? Think about it. You sign a lease. What happens when you want to get out of the lease? You get punished.
Yep.
There are consequences. You have to pay several $1,000s to get out of your lease. It's usually double your lease. And nowadays at a $2,500 a month.
Honestly, going back to renting, some things are nice because when something breaks, I'm like, all right, yep, I'm going to call you.
There are advantages of not owning,
but at the same time, it does not even compare because people just don't do it right. You don't get the peace of mind of knowing that your house doesn't have mold or asbestos or all of this because you're renting. You can find that stuff and still probably end up just moving out before you can fix anything.
Yeah.
And when you own your own home, you have that peace of
security.
Mind.
It's security, really. I mean, it's not going anywhere.
So where does one start if it's like a thought in their head? Because I'm really big into like I said, that acting now, and when you get that thought, what do you need to do with it instead of just, oh, that would be nice, but I'm gonna put it on the back burner? Like what would you give the first step if you're thinking about buying a home?
So there's kind of two options. Either talk to a real estate agent, such as me, hopefully, or talk to a mortgage lender. The mortgage lender, they're going to know more about finances. You're going to have to give them some more details about finances. But if you speak to a real estate agent, we can help you find a good mortgage lender or mortgage broker. And we can also kind of tell you the whole process.
What to expect.
So it kind of depends what you're looking for. Are you looking to see if you can buy a home? I'd say talk to a mortgage lender. And again, if you speak to a realtor, we can always point you in the direction of a mortgage lender as well. But if you're looking just lost, no idea what the process looks like, no idea what your options are, then come speak to me as a realtor, and I can kind of point you in the right direction. I can tell you about the different kind of mortgage loans, what the average price of housing is looking like, what a monthly payment might look like for what you're looking for. I can also give you different options. Maybe you were thinking of your first time, you wanted to buy that 3-bedroom house to get ready for your family and the kids you're going to have and the husband or the wife you're going to marry, and, preparing for a future. Because I think that's what a lot of people think of when they think buy a home. Mm-hmm. They're doing, I'm going to buy this house. This is going to be my house for the next rest of my life, for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. That doesn't have to be the case. I love first-time home buyers. I think the best option is starter homes. Mm-hmm. Buy that condo. Buy that $250,000 condo that's like one of the lowest priced condos on the market. Mm-hmm. You can rent it out. Like I said, you can sell it later. Use that equity as a big down payment for your next house. Mm-hmm. The bigger down payment you have, the less your monthly payments are. Mm-hmm. So if you can't afford those monthly payments on an $800,000 house, that's a pretty penny every month. Mm-hmm. You put a big down payment, they're going to be a lot lower. Mm-hmm. They're going to be affordable.
Mm-hmm. So I hear you saying the first-time home buyers. I remember when I was going to be a first-time home buyer and trying to figure out what programs or like what is available. What does that kind of look like, or what does it mean to be a first-time home buyer as far as the things you can take advantage of?
Well, and something I want to mention right off the bat is if you haven't been on a title, you haven't bought or sold a house in 3+ years, you're a first-time home buyer again. So you actually qualify for these programs if you just haven't bought or been on a title, been part of ownership of a house in 3+ years.
And what do they really look at for these type of programs? Or how do they assist you?
So they're all a little different. There are programs, there's one called CHAC, one called CHAFA. These are examples of down payment assistance programs. So they're going to look at your credit score. All the regulations are different. This is what your mortgage lender is really going to help with. They're going to know the programs. They're going to know
the tiers or whatever.
Yeah, I can't think of the word. Yeah. But the barrier of entry. They're going to know what you need to have. Okay. So some of them, it's a certain credit score, which if you have a crappy credit score and you think that's what's holding you back, there's also credit repair. Mm-hmm. Which I actually do credit repair as well as being a real estate agent. So I kind of try to help everyone. Love helping first-time home buyers through that process. It's just really rewarding for me seeing someone being able to live out that dream they didn't think they could achieve. But these programs, so they'll put up to a 3% down payment down. Some of them you have to pay back, some of them you don't.
Okay.
Some of them you have to put down X amount and then they'll put down the rest.
Okay.
But we've gotten into people into homes and they've gotten a check back at closing.
Oh, wow.
They've gotten paid at the time they're closing on their house.
That's awesome.
So there are different ways to do it, like it depends on the house. It depends what you're looking for. It depends on your finances. But that's why I say the most important thing is, even if it's this dream of yours you don't think you can achieve, go talk to someone.
You can't really set a goal until you know what the goal is.
Or the steps to take to get there. Still in a seller's market, which just means there's less inventory on the market. Yes.
So
they have more offers going in on the same property, basically.
Okay.
So properties aren't just sitting on the market because there are so many buyers versus the amount of houses.
So what I will say is, everybody kept telling me, don't listen to everybody else's situation.
Don't listen to Joe Schmo on the corner. What does he know?
I literally couldn't believe that. I was, younger. I have this, and I I got the house I wanted. I put in an offer. My realtors were very competitive in how they put it in, and we got it. And other people will tell you, oh, this happened to me. I think when you put your energy into that doubting, it works like that. So I definitely, even though it was a competitive market, I still had an amazing experience. It wasn't as scary as it seemed, even though I was told the same thing. It's kind of competitive. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do that. To me, I have a dream of owning a home, like a brand new home. What is that process like? If you want to have a home built, what does that?
Yeah. So there's a couple ways to go. You could buy a lot and find a builder, or there are builders out there. I work with a developer, and he'll do something called ghost listing. So he'll buy the plot of land, and he will design a house that he's going to build to go on it. Okay. He's going to sell you this plot of land and the building plans.
Okay.
So then once you purchase the plot of land, then he goes and builds the house.
Okay.
And it is pretty affordable. I mean, when you're talking about building a home, you can build a home in virtually any price range. Now, am I saying you could go build a house for $100,000? No. But within reason, $300,000-$400,000, you can get a house built. It's going to be a little more difficult, but it's possible.
Yeah, no, I bought a brand new car, and now that I have experienced what it's like to not have all of that, and just the inspection process and this and that. I was in a home that sold that wasn't passing inspection recently. And I was like, wow, that process sucks, to go be so excited about this and then find out, it's no good.
There's actually a third method I totally forgot to mention, is of course going to a new build neighborhood and just a Lennar neighborhood.
Yep.
And they have built spec homes. They've built these homes.
They usually have 3 or 4 different plans inside. Yep.
I was thinking the 2 options I mentioned earlier, those are, you can get a customized house.
Yep.
You can kind of customize it however you want.
Rather than having the same. That is one thing about the older houses in Colorado that I love, the personality that some of those neighborhoods have.
I love doing real estate out here because of that. I mean, it's just the diversity in these neighborhoods of just how the houses are built is just astonishing.
And just a side question, because I'm curious, what is homeowners associations? How do you bob and weave through that? Because I have been in neighborhoods with them and without them, and I have to say there are pluses and minuses to both.
You pay every month. That money goes to something. It doesn't just go to the air. Of course, it goes in people's pockets, but it also goes to fixing up the neighborhood. So it depends what kind of lifestyle you live. What are you looking to do in your home, you know? And every HOA is different. They all have different bylaws. And
are you seeing that more and more like areas and neighborhoods are adapting homeowners associations to take care of like problems? I live in a neighborhood that clearly doesn't have it. And when you have one house that has termites and bugs and trash in their backyard, it does actually affect the rest of the neighborhood.
Yes, it affects values of your homes too. I mean, I did a showing the other day, and someone had spray painted, I'm not going to say what, but they had spray painted all over their own garage, and it looked like graffiti. And I was like, why would you do that to your own property? Like, are you trying to lower yours and your neighbor's property values, you know? Like, and there are people who just don't want to keep things nice. And we do see more and more homeowners associations, and it would really surprise people what some of these HOAs cost. So it really, when you're considering, you know, putting an offer in on a certain house, you really have to run the financials with the taxes. You know, different areas, different counties have different taxes. Some are way higher than others.
Yep.
You have to take into account HOAs. Some of these condos in downtown Denver, they have like $800 or $900 a month HOAs on top of your mortgage. So you pay a $3,000 a month mortgage. Now it's almost $4,000 a month. It's surprising when I tell people that, you know, even on the lower end, these HOAs are $250 a month. So I mean, that really does put a wrench in how much you can pay for your mortgage.
Most definitely. So for somebody that is thinking about just loosely thinking before they talk to a realtor, what are some of the things that like you need to prepare for in this process? Like, what are some of the things that somebody could start doing today after listening to this podcast to kind of prepare themselves and get ready for everything? Because I remember I was pretty overwhelmed because I just kind of went in for it, and I didn't have, my parents didn't, like, I just didn't have anybody to really ask that I trusted. So I just kind of asked the realtor, the mortgage lender, and I know I was getting the right information, but I was overwhelmed. I was like, where do I actually start? What do I need to do?
So I say there are three major pieces, and that's going to be your finances, your savings, how much cash flow and capital you have available. The second one is going to be your credit score.
Okay.
Now, the third one I think is the most important, and a lot of people wouldn't see it as that. And it's your mindset. Yeah. Like you said, if you know, you think there's a barrier there, there is a barrier there, and it's your own mind. So you need to get past that. You can do it. It is possible. It's not, you know, 2/3 of Americans either own or want to become homeowners. There's not a lot of people who that's not their goal. So, I mean, you can make your goal happen. Absolutely. I actually did a little poll today on my Facebook, and I asked, you know, homeowners, how old were you when you bought your first home? And I'm astonished to see how many people in their early 20s are purchasing homes right now. And, you know, of course I see that, but to see it on Facebook as well, and just all these people I already know own homes, and it's kind of amazing how low, or, you know, how young people are buying homes nowadays. And, you know, these newer generations, we understand the importance of home ownership, and, you know, how it's going to affect your future.
I think a lot of it has to do with the change in just as we go down generations. You don't have to be married, ready to spend 30 years at this home. And I think we're doing a better job at educating our youth and younger people on the fact that you can do that. You can do it on your own. You should want those things for yourself. You don't have, and you don't, like you said before, you're not stuck for 30 years.
You can buy $1 million home without having $1 million. You got to start small, take baby steps, start with the condo, buy the 2-bedroom house, buy the 4-bedroom house, buy the 6-bedroom house, finally buy that dream house you really want, you know?
Yeah, I've been thinking about buying the condo, but buying the whole unit and renting out the other side. I'm like, that seems like the way to go.
House hacking, yeah.
Yep.
That's also an option. There are loans out there for it. Again, you just got to talk to someone who knows what they're doing, either a real estate agent like myself or a mortgage lender. And we're not here to sell you something. This is a big decision. This is a purchase of a home, something that,
it's not something that you're just going to like get the sale at the
most
end of
people
the day.
make in their lives. I mean, that's just period. So we're not pushing you into anything. That's not our goal. Our goal is to educate you.
So you offer a lot of other things. You said you help repair credit. You'd like to help educate.
Absolutely.
I've seen you kind of doing some networking type of events. What is that all just based around like giving back and educating? Is there anything else that you offer?
Absolutely. I also, I just like bringing people together. I think there's power in connections, power in networking. Like I said, I moved out to Colorado 2.5 years ago, and I was telling Gabby, I run into people, at stores. It's just crazy the connection you make with people and how it comes back to you.
The community
you connect with someone they need to be connected with. That's going to come back to you later. They're going to think of you. They're going to remember you. And I just think it's important to make that mark in the community and give back, Yeah,
I was surprised. I thought you, just from my run-ins with you in the community, I didn't know that you were only in Colorado for 2 years. It seems to be happening more and more that we have just more people not from here than from here in the room. I was like, gosh. Oh my goodness. So if there was anywhere else, if you were going to go from Colorado to a different market, what other markets interest you?
I would probably go back to Florida. I'm a little sad I didn't get into real estate down there, although I needed to get away from my hometown and my childhood. But the market down there is just booming. It's crazy. Just the price increases, and I just think it's beautiful, all the beach properties and all the vacation homes and the Airbnbs. So it's a lot of investment properties too. So I just think it's a really interesting area, and a lot of young business professionals down in Tampa, because that would be the area I'd go in, like Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, kind of by the beach and the.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Florida as an adult. I went when I was a kid and I've seen it, but I've never experienced it, so I'm like, maybe that's next.
I think it's better to visit than live in, but hey, those investment properties are there for a reason.
Yes, no, my mentor actually just went down somewhere. I can't remember where she said she went, but to look at an investment property, and I'm like, gosh, well, at least I know somebody with an investment property down there. What's up?
Airbnbs in South Florida are money makers. And just to mention it, self-promotion here, I can help anyone all over the country. I'm licensed myself in Colorado, but I have a network of professionals all over the country. And I'm always happy to find a real estate agent who is going to give you what you're looking for, whether it's education, whether it's just a straightforward process, whether you kind of know what you're doing and you don't need that education side, you just need the negotiation side. I can find someone who's going to work well with you. If your goal is home ownership, I can get you there. Awesome. It may not be next week, it may be a year or two, but we can get you there. No problem.
Yes, for sure. Do you have anything else that you have coming up, or people, that other ways people can find you other than just real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to support me any way, how, or shape, I also hold monthly networking events. They're cannabis networking events, 21 plus. I hold them every single month. Right now, they're held over in Lakewood. They're always in the Denver metro area. The next one coming up, I'm not sure when this podcast is going to come out.
It's on Sunday, so.
Okay, well, our next one then is going to be June 24th over in Lakewood. It's called Infused Networking Sesh. Feel free to give it a little search on the internet and it should pop right up.
Oh, it'll pop up. It's definitely, I think when I'm looking through cannabis-friendly events, it's definitely one of the top ones that pops up. So,
and it's just our way to come out, meet new friends, connect, and have a good time while making some business connections. Because like I said, networking is invaluable. Like, you never know who you're going to meet. Come talk to me. Come talk about home ownership or selling your home. And even if you're not ready, knowledge is power.
Yeah, that's something.
I'm a big, let's meet for coffee and chat. Like, let's chat about home ownership. Let's answer any questions you have. Let's go over this contract together and make sure you understand everything that we're doing.
Yeah, that's key.
And try not to overwhelm you at the same time, because it is a lot of information, but knowledge is power ultimately. And the more you know, the better decisions you can make.
So, June 24th, Infuse Networking Sesh.
Yes.
You can find that. How do we find you on social media or website, wherever?
So, my name is Amanda Bumbala. I'm sure she'll put the spelling in the caption there.
Yes.
But you can give me a call at 727-247-6511. You can find my email in the caption as well. Find me on social media. I am super responsive, honestly.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on with us. And any last words before we wrap this up?
Thank you so much for having me, Gabby. And if you have any questions whatsoever, if you want to just put the topic in your head, talk about it, gain some knowledge, please reach out to me and I'd be happy to talk to you wherever you are.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening. As always, stay safe, stay high, and stay fly.